Hey, what's up? Hello, folks. How we doing? My name is Emily Lees. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I work for University Housing. My official title is Coordinator of Housing Services, which is just a really fancy way of saying I do a lot of things that nobody else wants to do. No, I'm just kidding. So, what I do is I'm kind of an intermediary between all the different divisions in university housing. So I sit on the admin team, but I interact a lot with the residence life team. Residence life is they handle more of the experience on campus, like once your student gets on the campus. And then I do a lot of work with the facilities and maintenance. So I am the master of none. No, I'm just kidding. Jack of all trades type of thing. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through my normal housing presentation that you might have already seen. And from there, I'll talk about kind of the different updates that are going to happen with university housing and hopefully answer all of your questions and more. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in to my presentation that I so lovingly curated. Choose your own adventure with university housing. I think we should come up with our own theme song. If you have any ideas, let me know. So choose your own adventure. Great. So regardless of the different changes that will be happening because of the coronavirus, we are still offering an all-inclusive package. What does that mean? It means all utilities, Wi-Fi, the on-site dining experience, our 24/7 on-call assistance, parking, community events, and more. Really, what more could you want? So our on-campus dining will be open. We are modifying it to make sure that it is safe for students, and we're also offering new functions such as the ability to hopefully be able to send something in by their phone to go and pick up and do grab and go so they don't have to be in the dining hall, which is pretty awesome. I know that they're still having conversations regarding whether or not the late night cafe and the daytime cafe will be open. My hope is that they will, because they're awesome. Because all of our different areas are going to be open, that means that both of our mailrooms will be open, meaning that you can send your loving care packages that I know you're already planning on sending. And then in all of our locations, we have our on-site laundry services. If you want to view any of our locations, actually, I just did a walking tour with the Office of Admissions. And if you go to our Instagram or Chico State Admissions Instagram page, you can see we did like a 2-hour walking tour between all of the different communities so that you could see what the inside looks like. And so what I love about our location is that we are centrally located between all of the really important things that your student should probably be, near, like the WellCat Health Center, the Counseling Center, the library, all of those sorts of things. So we love that. One thing too I think is we get a lot of questions about is University Village. University Village is part of the university housing umbrella. And what that means is that there is no difference between Whitney Hall and University Village other than the fact that University Village happens to be off campus. And let me tell you folks, it is less than a mile off campus. It's also a gated community. And in the 10, 12 years that I've been working in higher education, 3 of those I was a live-in staff member here at Chico State. University Village is my favorite hall, my favorite community, my favorite place ever to have lived in. So if your student is like, University Village, don't let them tell you that. University Village is the best. One thing that we take a lot of pride in is how conscious we are of our safety and security. So we are a 24/7 swipe access building. You have to have your ID card to get in. If your ID card isn't programmed for our buildings, you're not getting in. In addition, we have desk attendants that are at the desk in every single community 24/7 that are also making sure that individuals who don't live in our community are in our community. We have professional staff members who went to school for master's degrees in higher education, and they are live-in professionals that are there with knowledge and experience to help your student be successful, because we believe at University Housing that success is measured holistically. So not just academically, but we want to make sure that your student is mentally sound, emotionally well, and physically capable, right? In all the best ways that they can be. or are able to be. We also have what are called resident advisors, student staff members, and their whole job is, one, to make sure your student is safe, and two, to make sure that their transition from home life to this new home away from home is seamless and, again, successful. So their whole job is to make sure that your student is doing well and provide them resources in case they're like, I don't know what to do. So if you haven't already applied, we are actually still accepting applications. So don't feel like you're gonna miss out, because we're still accepting all sorts of applications. University housing also has a lot of leadership opportunities, and I would say Chico State in general offers a lot of them. But what's great about Community Council, or COCO for short, is the fact that it is specific to our students living in the hall. So Community Council is specific to each hall, meaning that Whitney Hall has one, University Village has one. And it's awesome because it gives the students the ability to advocate for the students in their community. So whether they want to be a general board member or if they want to be an exec member, they get the opportunity to learn really important skill sets like time management, different leadership skills, communication skills, working together as a team, conflict mediation, all of those really important things. The way that I describe Community Council is almost like a student ASB, but way cooler. It just gives your students this really great opportunity to advocate for the students that live in their building, and they have a budget that they get to work with. And it's not like chump change budget, right? It's not like $25 for the whole year. They have a pretty significant budget that they get to utilize to be able to do things for their community. And that, oh, hello there, welcome. And that includes things like buying ping pong tables or pool tables, things that will enrich the experience of the individuals that are living there. Speaking of skill sets, if your student does have a specific skill set or wants to learn a specific skill set, we have a lot of different job opportunities. You can always look on Handshake to see what is available. I have a marketing assistant. She is really, really great. She helps me with the social media. She and I are creating a marketing and a branding plan. If your student is studying computer science, we have computer assistants. If your student is looking for a summer position, I am in charge of summer conference and I do all the hiring for that. So we do offer summer opportunities as well. Or if your student is just like, I need a paycheck, there are other positions as well. So definitely check out our Handshake, us on Handshake. I think you have the ability to, whenever we post a new job, to get notified. So if your student is interested, because it is really great to live where you work where you live, this would be a good option. Ooh, this is one of my favorite things in the world to talk about. I don't know why this came as a surprise, because I do this presentation almost every day. Hub Productions. So like I said, I have worked for a number of different institutions in the CSU, and Hub Productions is pretty unique in the fact that it is a separate programming arm under the umbrella of University Housing. So they specifically do event planning and things like that only for the residents of University Housing. So not athletics, not fraternity and sorority affairs. And while we might do events in conjunction with them, this is only for students who live with us. And so one of the cool things that we'll do is craft nights. We call it Crafty Cats, but it's essentially Pinterest night. And we provide all the supplies. The students just get to come down and hang out, which is really great. We also have late night programs because, like Sergeant Beck, I think it's Sergeant Beck, talked about, there is an alcohol culture, right? And as there is with every college institution. So to combat that with the awareness and the education that we provide, we also offer late night programming. So it'll go till midnight, it'll go till 2 a.m. to give students a different space, a safe space to go and hang out, to go relax, to go do something without feeling like they're torn between, I want to go do something, but not that, right? And so it gives that students that ability to go somewhere that they don't feel pressured and connect with individuals who might be in the same mindset as them. We also offer a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion events, and these events are surrounding not only educating students, but celebrating the students and their identities that live with us. So we've done things like ballet nights, we've done programs around cultural appropriation. So we try and make sure that we're hitting both sides. And then your student is going to forget that they're here for school. Do not worry. We will remind them. We offer a lot of series regarding academic programs. So one of the series that we do is called Like a Boss. And in the Like a Boss series, we'll hit things like how to beef up your resume, how to nail that job interview, what can you do to study better, your time management skills, to make sure, again, that they are successful because this is such a new experience for them. So regardless if your student is going to be in a double, a triple, a quad, or in the apartment style, there will only be one student in every room. So even though you see that sweet looking quad, there's only going to be one student in there. All the furniture will remain, and the student will still be charged the double rate. So even though they're going to be by themselves, they're going to be charged the double rate, because it's not fair and it wouldn't be ethical to say, there's only one of you, so we're going to charge a single. No, we know that the students didn't bring this upon themselves, so we're trying to remain consistent with that. Now, if you look on the right-hand side, that apartment style, that layout is more indicative of University Village. University Village apartments have suite styles, and Concow houses are a little bit bigger. So in a normal non-COVID year, the Concow houses can house anywhere to 13 to 18 students. And so therefore it's a bigger kitchen, it's a bigger lounge space, but this is more of the University Village style. So again, you can go onto our social media and look at the Instagram videos that we did of the walking tour of all of our different communities. And it was really hot, so you should go check it out just because I did all that walking in the heat. All right. Whether you choose to live with university housing this year and then decide to move off campus, whether you're like, university housing isn't for me, one page that you're going to want to save is our off-campus student services page. And the director of that off-campus student services is Dan Herbert, and he's awesome. Dan was the mayor of Chico at one point, and he had been a property manager in the area for 20 years. So that gives him the awesome and unique ability to know which apartment complexes are great and which are maybe not the ones that we want to suggest to students. And so on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see what's called the connections list. We have compiled anywhere from 17 to 20 different apartment complexes that have been vetted by Dan and the university and that we feel comfortable referring students to. So if your student is thinking that an apartment style might be more for them in the future, you're going to want to look at that list. What's also cool is that you'll see in the other screenshot in the bottom right-hand corner is the rental housing certification program. That is a free online 45-minute tutorial with a quiz at the end that once you do that, you'll get a certificate, and those apartment complexes in the connections list will do something in kind. And so sometimes that means waiving an application fee, which is in $55 to $65 back in your pocket. So it's a really great tool. It gives you and your student foundational knowledge about living off campus, and you get something cool for it. The Housing Connections page is also great because it gives students the ability to post rooms that they might have available, and students can obviously go look and see what rooms might be available. So it's just another tool for students who might be looking for something off campus. So if you haven't, you're definitely going to want to apply for university housing. I'm waiting for my screen to come back. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk a little bit about our COVID updates before I see that some of you have already started asking questions. Thank you. I love that. But I'm going to talk about and give you some context about where we're at now. So the Chancellor's office is the office that oversees all of the 23 CSU system. They're in charge. They're the big tamale, right? And so they were the ones that made the decision of, hey, we're going to go virtual. They are also the ones that we had to submit a proposal to that said, this is how many students that we want on campus. We requested 46% of our occupancy to come on campus, which was approved. So we're very excited about that. What that means is that we can house about 1,036 students. So if your student has already applied, what they need to have done, if they haven't already, is either cancel their housing application or let us know that they intend to live with us. If you cancel your housing application, we wish you well. I want you to be successful. I want your student to be successful. And sometimes that's not with university housing, and that's okay. What that means is in a couple of weeks, you would get a housing refund of your initial housing payment. So that $300 payment that you initially submitted is going to go back to you because, again, it would be unethical for us to keep that money. We're not like Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, like money, money, money. That's not us. So that is one of the bigger changes. So that also means that there will be no roommate pairings and that we have no idea what spring is going to look like because one, we're not going to be the ones to make the decision. University housing will be in partnership with Butte County Health Department, our Emergency Operations Committee, and ultimately the Chancellor's office. They're going to be the one that makes the call about what happens in spring. And so if your student cancels, that means that they cancel for the whole academic year. Now, if they do want to live with us in spring, if we're able to bring people back in spring, if we have openings available in spring, how many times can I say spring? I don't know. What will happen is that they'll need to apply for our spring application, which will usually open up in November. And we will be pushing out a bunch of information. I'll be doing Zoom webinars. I'll be doing one-on-ones. I'll be doing Instagram lives. I'll be doing all of that to make sure that you have all of the knowledge. And I'm happy to do Zoom one-on-ones now with individuals. I've been doing Zoom meetings with students who've had questions, or parents, guardians, that sort of thing. So I'm more than happy to meet with anybody if they're kind of just want to talk through things, get stuff off their chest or ask some questions. So your student, if they want to live with university housing, they still have that option. Last that I checked, we were not at capacity. We will be letting individuals know their placements in mid-July. I can't give you a date because we've got some stragglers from our other application, but from where I am sitting, kneeling actually, I don't see us at capacity. So make sure that if you wish to apply, that you do. So what I'm going to do now is pop over to the chat eventually, once I figure my computer out, and answer all of your questions. So is the CSU requiring and mandatory for students to live on campus or in the surrounding area? No, we are one of the CSUs that does not require first-year students or transfers or returners. And we have all of them. We house all students, but we don't have a live-in requirement. And we will also let students live with us that don't have a class on campus. There's only 10% of classes that are on campus anyways. So we're not going to tell a student just because they don't have an on-campus class that they can't live with us. But we have no requirements whatsoever. We reserved a single occupancy dorm unit as part of the onboarding process. However, due to COVID, most classes are no longer available. Classes available online. So it doesn't make sense to be on campus. Totally understandable. Can we reserve this spot for the following year? Unfortunately not. We're unable to defer any fall applications over to the spring, but we will give you your refund if you go ahead and cancel your application. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. We're sad to see you go though. I'm sad. Where can we find the walking tour of the housing? Yes, so if you or your student has Instagram, I'm working on trying to get it onto our Facebook and to our website, but for now, because we just did it like 2 hours ago, if you go onto Instagram and you type in Chico State Housing or Chico State Admissions, our walking tour will be on there. And we hit everywhere. What will the requirements be for the students that do receive housing? That is a great question, Tammy. There's a lot of Tammys in that chat. Thank you for asking. So the way that some of the different changes that will happen is that, and this is a university mandate, not just university housing, but all students will be required to wear masks, even in the buildings. Where you won't be required to wear a mask would be in your room and when you're eating in the dining hall, because I feel like eating with a mask is not the most ideal of situations. But so that's one of the big changes. Another big change is the fact that, again, the roommate pairings, we won't have any roommates. And another big change, and these could be make or break, so this is why it's important to make sure you have all the information, but we won't be allowing guests in the halls. So your student can have one extra person in their room with them, but they have to already be living in the same community. So a student who lives in Whitney, say their friend from Sutter wants to come visit, unfortunately, they won't be able to. But if they have a friend that already lives in Whitney, they can stay in their room. And I know that seems kind of discouraging, but keep in mind that our awesome programming team and our awesome Res Life team understand that it might be a little bit isolating. And so they're creating a whole bunch of opportunities to make sure students get connected and that they don't feel like they're alone when they're living in university housing. But that's a big change. It's important to let your student know that. Unless the student's like, this is heaven, nothing could be better. Some of our students are like that. What I've been telling students too is, I know y'all are on TikTok. You can practice all your TikTok dance moves in your room and nobody will know when you mess up. Think of it that way. Such positivity. All right. If my daughter is matched with a roommate, can they pair up in spring and the requirements change? I hope so, Kylie. I love that name. I think what would be ideal is all of this goes away. Goodbye, coronavirus. We open up all of the halls, all of our spaces in the building, and we can start looking at how we can bring in more people, what maybe the roommate matching process might look like. But We don't know. And I think, to be transparent, it will be kind of maybe bumpy or rocky because we're doing this so differently than how we would do it during the summer. Let me tell you, our admin team, we were excited. We were ready to go. We were like, we're ahead of the game. And then everything kind of went. So the roommate matching would have to be severely modified if we are going to open it in spring. So I have no idea on how I could let you know what it's going to look like, because we have no idea. But that's a great question. Is there a way to make sure a friend or someone you wanted to room with will be in the same dorm? Kind of. So the way that it'll work is that it'll go first come, first serve on our application of who wanted to. Let me backtrack. So when you submitted your application, you had to do two things. And one of those was to submit your initial housing payment and your intent to enroll. And that gave you a spot, quote unquote, in line with university housing. That is what we will be using for assignments, not to distinguish who is going to be necessarily in our count right now, but in assignments. That's how assignments will play out. So if your student and your student's friend did their application near the same time, they should be able to get into the same placement. Now, if they're not, you still have the ability to request a reassignment. So say your student asked for Whitney and their friend asked for University Village, and your student's like, well, wait, I want to be at University Village because Emily said it's the best. Well, one, good for you for listening to me, because nobody does. But two, you can request to be reassigned to a different space. It's not a guarantee, it's a request. But we do a lot of reassignment requests. And so you have the ability to ask to be placed in a separate space before move-in. Now, move-in will be happening over 4 days. Move-in will be from August 17th through August 20th. And the way that it'll work, because we want to make sure that we're being conscious of socially distancing each other, is that it'll be appointment based. So over the 4 days, we'll be sending out a lot of information about move-in, but your student will have the ability to choose a date and a time that they'll be able to come up for move-in. And so that way we can ensure that we're limiting the number of people who are moving in at a time. Just to be clear, if my daughter gets a larger room, we pay for the whole amount. You pay for the double price. So if your daughter is in a double room or a triple or a quad, she has all of that space to herself. She will not be paying as if she was the only person in that space. It's not like she's buying out the space. She will only be paying our double rate. And so let me pull up what that double rate looks like. I don't know if you asked a question, but if you did, I'd love to hear it. Maybe they just came off mute. All right, so typically a single, like in Whitney, a Whitney single would be 13, let's say for the sake of argument, about 14,000, right? We're not charging anybody that rate. All students who live in Whitney, whether they are in a triple, a quad, or a double, will be charged the double rate of approximately 12,000 for the whole academic year. And it kind of varies. So like that double rate is for Shasta, Lassen, Whitney, Mechoopda, and Eskin. Concow has a different double rate. University Village has a different double rate, and Sutter has a different double rate. But if you go onto our website, you can see all of those rates broken down really easily. And to make sure you're aware, that rate does include the meal plan.